Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel, A Magical Life with Ayla. I'm Ayla Hillel, and today we are going to talk about the energy and vibration of altars. So let's get started. So one of the things that we talk about almost every video, I talk about almost every video, is how to change up your energy so that you can come into a functional space for creating your reality. Now, we have had a good idea, since the dawn of time. Actually, the ancients knew that our thoughts were vibrational, and those vibrations were very attractive. So this channel deals exclusively in ways to help you raise your vibration so that you are functional and powerful in the creation of your reality. So one of the things that what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about altars. Now, altars are an energetically vibrational focal point. Okay, so anytime you take your thoughts, now your thoughts create feelings. They'll tell you in the law of attraction that thoughts are what creates your reality. Not really. No, your thoughts cause you to have a reaction, cause you to have an emotional reaction. When you think about something that you would really like to have, you feel things change, don't you? Maybe your heart beats a little faster, maybe your palms get a little moist, things start to change. That's another argument for our body belongs to our mind, but also this is a changing up of a vibration. So if you're constantly thinking about things that you're afraid of, if you're constantly thinking about things that you hate, if you're constantly thinking about that argument you had with that person at work, or this really, really intense situation that you're having with a family member, that's the vibration that you're creating. So we influence our vibration and we manipulate, and this is one time where the word manipulate is a good word. We influence our vibration and we manipulate our vibration by the thoughts that we hold, which cause the emotions that we have inside of us. So an altar is a sacred space, and I'm a witch. I practice paganism and I practice magic, which, that's my definition of witchcraft, is somebody who practices paganism and somebody who practices magic. And so I have an altar right in the middle of my living room. When you walk through the front door, you have to walk around it to get into the kitchen and the rest of the house. Because this is a focal point for me. This altar is my heart. And any time that you are feeling, having lower vibrational energies, you're feeling depressed, you're angry at somebody, maybe your body doesn't feel good, you can sit down at your altar, you can light a candle and some incense, and you can shift your focus. Okay, so that's what we do with an altar. We shift our focus, and that place is very comfortable. My altar is very comfortable. I make a mess on it. This is why every 6 weeks I have to change it up. I have to take it apart, and I use the holidays to as an excuse to get to take my altar apart, clean it, and put everything back together again. So I have started the practice of after the day after each holiday. So Samhain was yesterday, and this is the day after Samhain. I took my Samhain altar apart, I put it away, I put all my stuff back in the box and I put it away. And then I got some, not all, of my Yule decorations out, and I put together a little Yule altar. Now, I say in the video that I have other decorations. I've got to get them out. And as time goes by, I will be adding other decorations to my altar. So Yule is the Norse New Year. We tend to look at Yule through the Norse lens, where other, like Ostara. Ostara is also kind of a Norse holiday, but we tend to look at Yule through a Norse lens. And so, there's lots of pictures of what many religions in this country call Christmas. We were doing it before Christmas was invented. So decorating the trees and the holly and all of that stuff. And each one of those have a pagan meaning. So altars are interesting because you don't have to set them up any particular way. If you have a little, my husband has a little plate that he sits next to where he looks at the computer, and it's got he's got a little silver Viking boat and a candle on it. And he's going to add some more stuff later. This is a new invention for him. But he can sit and he can look at his computer. He can light a candle. He can have that focal point there. And lots of times he stops what he's doing. He stays in the chair that he's in and he meditates. And so here's his little altar. This altar's on a plate, so we can move the plate from place to place. If we have company, we can take it off the table. Your altar doesn't have to look like anything specific. What it has to be is it has to be specific to you. So, and the idea of an altar really doesn't violate anything that you believe. If you're on another path, say you're not pagan, an altar can have, if you're a Christian, an altar can have a cross on it and maybe a lily or an egg or, whatever symbolism speaks to you. We light candles because that's an incense, because that's a nice offering to God and to the gods and goddesses and to the angels and the dragons and the fairies and the guides. This is a nice offering to them. When I light a candle and I light incense every day, I am thinking of them. I have shifted the vibrational energy of my mind, which shifts my heart so that I can come into a higher vibration. Okay, so I've taken some pictures, and I'm going to cut here now, and we're going to go to a different video, and I'm going to show you how I set my altar up. Okay, this is what I do. You do what you do, and you do what is meaningful for you. This is what is meaningful for me. Okay, so I'll be back after we look at these pictures and look at this video, and I'll tell you some more stuff. Okay? So this is my altar. This is a plastic table that I bought from Amazon. It's from the Starite company. I think the table cost me $35. This is what I use for an altar. This is my base. And so what I like to do we're going to decorate the altar for Yule, which is the next pagan holiday. And I like to start with a cover with what we call them altar cloths. We're going to start with an altar cloth that is going to cover the entire table, just like that. Okay, and then the next thing, now every magical person sets their altar up differently. So what you see here is just one person's example of what they do. The next thing I like to do is I found one of these metal trays. It looks old. It probably needs to be cleaned with some silver tarnish cleaner. And I like to put this right in the middle. And then on top of that, I got one of these doilies from the dollar store. So I put that on top of there. Now, a lot of people do what I'm fixing to do differently. In the middle of the altar, a lot of people put 2 candles. They put 1 candle to represent the divine feminine and 1 candle to represent the masculine feminine, because everything in the craft, we try to balance everything in the craft. And of course, without men, we don't have women, and without women, we don't have men. So what I put in the middle, however, is I put a crystal ball. And what the crystal ball represents for me is what many people call God, source energy, the Most High, Adonai Echad, Allah. I mean, this crystal ball to me represents God. The everything, the totality of everything that there is, this is God. So from there, I move to establishing my corners. Now, one of the things that we do with our altar is we want to make sure that the directions and the corners are represented. Now, think about this for a minute. We deify the directions and the corners. Why do we do that? We do that because without one direction, if the north should cease to exist, if water should cease to exist, we cease to exist. So for us, the elements, earth, air, fire, and water, and the directions, north, east, south, and west, are deified. So we want them represented on our altar. So I bought these little cups from, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I bought these little cups from Walmart, and this is part of the Prairie Woman. And no, they're not a sponsor. I just like them so much. So there's the yellow one. The yellow represents air. Here's the red one. Red represents fire and the south. Here's the blue one, represents water and west. And here's the green one, and I can't tip it too far. I've got sand in it from our last trip to the ocean. So I bought these little cups just because I like them. So my house is situated, this wall here is in the north. So that means my front door is facing the south, and the west would be water, and the east would be air. So I've got what I have in the bowl for east. I've got a little thing. My 2 favorite incenses are white sage and non-champas. So I make sure that I always have those on my altar. So I've just orientated myself to the directions. Now, what most magical people do is they have what is called tools and supplies. Okay, so this is an athame. It's ritual. It has no practical purpose as far as like cooking or anything like that. Athames correspond to the element of water, and they are in the west. So I'm going to put this right here. this is my pentacle. I don't know if you can see that or not. Pentacles correspond to the element of earth and the direction of north. So I'm going to put that right here. Here is my wand. A friend of mine in Ashland made this for me. Okay, beautiful little wand. Wands represent our inspiration and our driving passion and our fire. So we're going to put it in the south. Okay, and then oh, I've got my athame in the wrong place. Athame corresponds to air in the east, and water corresponds to the west. So I'm going to take my chalice and I'm going to put it right here. So this setup right here is basic. Many magical people. Sometimes you will see that the orientation of the tools are in a different orientation, and that's okay. I mean, everybody does it differently. This is what I do. I learned to read tarot from Cassandra Eason, and this is the way she orients the directions and the tools. So there is our basic setup. Now I have other things. William bought me a compass because I am directionally challenged. So my compass is always on my altar so that I know exactly where the directions are. So I just put the compass any place. And then I have other pentacles. So here's a little sandstone pentacle. And I always have something to light candles with. Extra candles. I have these little tea light candles. And I always have extra on the altar. So if a friend comes over and they want to light a candle to make an offering to the universe, they can do that. I have some non-champa. And this is where we kind of start to fill things in. At this point, what I'm setting this altar up for is for Yule. So in the Celtic calendar, there are 4 major holidays. We have Imbolc, which comes on February 1st. Then we have Beltane, which comes on May 1st. Then we have Lughnasadh, which comes on August 1st. And then we have Samhain, which comes on November 1st, which happened yesterday. You got to see a picture of my Samhain altar before I broke it down. So what I'm doing here is I'm setting up for the next major holiday, which is Yule. Now, though I didn't mention Yule in those 4, did I? So in between those 4, what we have is solstices and equinoxes. So we just had Samhain. Samhain is the Celtic New Year. It's the day of memory that we set aside to remember our loved ones who have crossed back to the other side. And it's the last harvest of pumpkin, gourd, squash, big things like that. And now we move on to Yule. Now, Samhain was the Celtic New Year. Yule is the Norse New Year. So Yule actually comes to our calendar. I mean, it's a solstice. So regardless of what culture you're looking at, it would exist anyway. But we take a lot of our cues from the Norse culture and their observation of the solstice. So for them, Yule is the beginning of the year. So it's almost like we get to have 2 New Years. So this is base. If you want to just set up a pagan altar with the elements and the directions on it, this is very basic. Now, also, we have supplies. We want to put supplies on our altar. So, like I said, I always have extra candles on the altar in case a friend or a family member comes over and wants to make an offering to the universe. So this is part of our supplies. We have water as a supply, or oil in the west. Okay, and then oh, my candles fell out. And so then we have incense. So I've got the incense laying here in the east, and in the north I already have beach sand from Gold Beach, the last time William and I took a trip to Gold Beach. So now what we want to do is we want to decorate a little bit. So the colors of Yule are red and green. And so I'm going to take this red scarf here, and you can put anything on your altar. I usually have some plastic or some holly from the craft store, and I'm going to wrap this. I'm just going to wrap this around here very lightly, and then I have these little coasters that I made, and I'm just going to kind of set them around. They're green, so they kind of match the green that's on there. Later on, I will add some holly. I will add some pine cones and a few other things. But right now, I think that this is going to be good enough for my Yule altar. Okay. And there you have it for now. You know, like I said, I'm going to add some stuff later as we get closer to Yule. I have a box with decorations in it that I haven't gone out yet. And some of those decorations work really well for the altar. Some of the decorations need to be set out, and some of the decorations need to be hung on the outside of my house. But that's it. That's a basic Yule altar. Okay, so you saw in the video, so we have the tools. So we have earth, air, fire, and water are the directions. And I know this is hard for some people to understand the deification of the directions and the elements. And like I explained in the video, if one of these things cease to exist, so researchers determined years ago when I was a little girl, that our bodies are made out of 70% water. Now, a little more recently, I've been hearing whispers that it may be closer to 90% water. What if water ceased to exist on this planet? We go away with everything else, because everything depends on water. Everything depends on the fire of the sun. We use it for our livelihood. We use it to grow our food. Our body takes sunlight and synthesizes vitamins for us. The fire of the sun is very powerful. And then we have the element of earth. Do I need to say more about that? You know, without earth, it's like we don't have food. We don't have a place to live. It's like earth gives us a place to live. And so earth is definitely deified. And then air, the element of air. Our cells are full of air. We breathe in air. Our air goes into our lungs. Our lungs pumps it out to our circulatory system. The circulatory system in the blood, which is rich in oxygen, takes oxygen to all parts of our body. So this is so important to us. The deification of the elements is extremely important to us. And then the same way with earth, air, fire, and water. With north, south, east, and west, with the directions. The sun rises in the east here in Oregon. It sets in the west. So in the south, we have inspiration and fire. In the north, we have stability, because we can stand on that earth. So if one of these directions no longer existed, we would become a sucking black hole, wouldn't we? Our existence, the way we know it, would end. It would just end. So the altar, the base setup of the altar is the elements and the directions, what we call the elements and the directions, known to some pagan groups as the corners. Okay. Now, like I said, you don't have to put all this on your altar. You don't have to do that. You can put a few little things, light a candle, light a little incense. That's fine. Whatever helps you focus. And if you're having a bad day and you come into your altar, you light a candle, you light some incense, you sit down, and you just stare at the stuff on your altar, that is going to help shift that vibration of a bad day. Okay? If you go back to the video that I did on spiritual practices, one of the spiritual practices was altar work. So what does that mean exactly? I mean, that's kind of an ambiguous term. So altar work means that you're doing just that. You are using your altar as a vibrational focal point for your energy, to shift your energy up. Okay? Light candles, light incense every day. I have a little brown pitcher. You didn't see it on my altar, but I have a little brown pitcher that I fill up with water at the sink. And then I take it over and I pour it into the little cup that represents west and the water. And I make sure that everything, I put my hands in the sand. The sand came from the coast here in Oregon. And that's altar work. Doing something with your altar every day, allowing your altar to switch up your energy for you and to change your focus so that you can begin to start feeling better about whatever that thing is that's annoying you and dragging your energy down. Okay, so that's really all I have to say about altars. The whole idea is very simple. The whole idea of altar work, I said altar work, and I don't know in the other video if I went on to explain what that was, but it's really simple and it's really good for us. It's a really good energy and vibration to help us get out of some of the lower vibrational energies that we get into. And also, the flip side of having an altar is I do mine with the intention of, yes, bringing myself into the vibrational alignment with my altar, but also I make offerings to the universe. I am connected to God and to many gods and goddesses. I have my own pantheon. I am connected to the angels and the fairies and the dragons, and each one of them plays roles in my life at various times. I don't feel connected to all of them all the time. We're not having interactions all the time, but I feel their presence with me, and I want them to know I feel their presence with me. And I worked very hard at forging that relationship. The next video that we're going to do is going to be forging a relationship with the divine. I worked very hard to come into that place where I felt connected to them. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It is not their job to connect with us. Their job is to help us stay on the life plan that we wrote for ourselves before we came down here. That's what they agreed to. And unless you have some special clause in your contract with them, not too many of the others will agree to, while we're down here, to come into our reality in such a way that it's startling. Okay, you know what I mean? So they're there and they love it when we acknowledge them, but we don't have to acknowledge them. That is not part of the agreement. The agreement is, I wrote this life plan down. I contracted with this one, and this one to help me stay on path while I'm here, because I had very specific reasons for why I wrote the things down that I wrote down that I wanted to experience while I was here. there's a lot of things down here to get distracted by. And so they help guide. Okay. I don't want to live in this life without that connection, without my divine connection. It's very difficult. It's very hard for me to imagine life without some sort of practice. So altar work helps me kind of communicate with them, I guess you would say. Lighting candles and burning incense and pouring water and feeling the dirt really helps me come into union with them. And, you know, somebody might say, oh, well, that's all in your head. Okay, that's fine if it's all in my head. My mind is fertile ground between me and God. God is the only one allowed in my mind. And if that's all it is in my head, I'm good with that. I am good with that. But try this idea. The first altar I ever had, I went to the dollar store and I got a dinner plate. And I bought a candle. I mean, you don't have to buy big, expensive things. And some other pretty little things to set on my altar. And I had incense. And so that was, I mean, this was back in like 1999, before I even came onto this path. I felt a need to make these offerings. So if you're feeling something, think about it. You know, you may need to erect a little altar for yourself. And but just really, really be true to yourself. I mean, if you listen to this video and you're thinking, wow, that's a lot, or I don't feel the same, I don't feel like I need that stuff on my altar, I feel like I need this stuff on my altar, go with that, because the only thing that is going to make sense to you is what makes sense to you. Okay? If you're doing something and you're like, well, you know, Ayla said set it up like this, don't set it up like that. What do you feel? That's the most important thing. What do you feel? Okay? All right. So that's all I have to say about that. What I want to tell you is please go to my website at amagicallifewithayla.com and scroll down to the bottom. Join my emailing list. Now, my disclaimer for the emailing list, I'm going to make this every single time. I'm only going to send you emails twice a month. Once for the newsletter, so you should have got the newsletter day before yesterday for yesterday. The newsletter was a Samhain newsletter. And then you will get another thing from me, just kind of updating, talking about what I'm doing, if I have any sales going on. If you go into my shop, you see all of my services, mostly, that I provide. And I have 2 books that were in print. I took them down. They're going to be new editions, and I'm republishing them. So look for that. And I have another channel. It's called Magical Life Publications. And this is where I talk about writing. I talk about my books. I talk about what it's like to be a writer, what it's like to be an independent author, what it's like learning all of the stuff that I need to learn to get myself out there. So if you like to read, if you like to write, you know, either one, this is not just for readers. The Magical Life Publications is for writers and readers. And what I'm kind of hoping is I'm going to be doing some stuff on that channel where I'm talking about some of the different publication platforms that indie authors can use. This is really important. It's really important that we have everything in front of us, all the resources in front of us as an indie writer, and that we have a community that supports us. I don't want to go the traditional route. I was going to do that. I was re-editing. I was putting the new edition of my book together, getting it all ready, and I was going to send it off to an agent, and I just can't. My heart is just screaming something, and I think it's because I really love this idea of being in control of my writing and being in control of the process of becoming published and marketing direct to my customers so that I can have a relationship with them. So that's what that's all about. That's Magical Life Publications on YouTube. That's my other channel. And please go and join my newsletter if you haven't already. And that's all I have to say. So have a wonderful day. I love you.